distributed map earlier on. So, two very distinguished speakers, both of whom have dealt with the migration issue at the policy-making level. So, on my right-hand side, Mr. Dimitris Keridis, Minister of Migration Policy for Greece, Minister handling a portfolio which is, needless to say, a hot potato over the last 8 years. And on my left, Mr. Stefan Mayer, also a good friend over the years, German politician from Bavaria, former state secretary responsible on migration in, I would dare to say, even more difficult times than this one on migration. The rules of the game is that each minister will have a maximum 10 minutes for your interventions. I think maybe it's too much, but just the limit. Then I will seize the prerogative of being the chair to ask you a couple of questions, and then we can open the floor to some more questions from our audience. So, Mr. Keridis, the floor is yours. We have a high-level cooperation council with Turkey next week. I understand that possibly there are things you can talk to us on this as a start. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Angele. I'm really delighted to be with you this evening. Back to my beloved Athens for this security forum that has become an institution now here in Greece, in Athens, bringing together policymakers and analysts on the field of security. And I'm very, very happy to see so many young faces, students of ours from undergrad and graduate programs, and of course old colleagues in the audience, and many, many friends from northern Athens, my constituency, and obviously my wife, which I rarely see these days because of too much work. But anyway, and of course, many, many thanks, if I may, to our German friends, the foundations that have sponsored, and the German colleagues who have come from Bavaria and elsewhere to participate in this endeavor. It goes without saying that migration is in the headlines and one of the hottest political issues these days in Europe. We have had the results in the Dutch elections recently, where the topic was very dominant. And in the not so distant past, we had Brexit and so many other political events of major importance that were affected by what is being perceived as a migration crisis. And there is a very big talk on the European Union. I was yesterday in Brussels on a major conference against smuggling of irregular migrants. And there are so many other initiatives taking place precisely because this is a major issue. Our government's policy can be summarized in the following, as far as migration is concerned. We are in favor of regular, legal, quality migration according to our needs and according to our rules and regulations. Needs determined by the labor shortages that we experience in the Greek economy that is now booming. And we are determined to reduce and combat irregular migration, and especially the illegal activity of smuggling and the criminal networks of smugglers. So we want to move away from the irregular to the legal, respecting European laws, international conventions, and European values. This is not very easy, because Greece is finding itself on the forefront of irregular migratory flows because of its geographic position and because of certain other factors. Greece is the only Schengen country in the area. Neither Bulgaria nor Romania are parts of Schengen, nor Cyprus. And as a result, it is very attractive to come to Greece, to enter Schengen, and through Greece to move on northwards. Greece has a very difficult border, not only the land border with Turkey, that extends to more than 150 kilometers long, but also even more so the maritime border that goes on for more than 1,000 miles from Alexandroupolis in the north to Kastellorizo in the southeast. Very difficult to patrol. And we have had our share of difficulties even this summer in guarding it. On top of everything, we have had a difficult relationship with Turkey, to say the least, especially during the last years. And Turkey, I have to admit, has refused and continues to refuse vehemently to honor its commitment in the EU-Turkey joint declaration of 2016 and the readmission agreements of 2014-2017 that provide for returns. Turkey has said time and again to us and to the Europeans. My counterpart was recently in Brussels speaking to the EU Commissioner Ylva Johansson, saying that Turkey will not take back returns of irregular migrants arriving to Greek islands. And this is a problem. Nevertheless, we have managed to find a way to talk to each other since September and to start coordinating. And we have already had some positive results. From the highs of September, we have seen a drop in flows by 43% in October, and we expect a drop of 70% in November. Again, I want to be very frank and clear, from the highs, the peak of September. This is definitely an improvement. We have agreed on a number of things, regular meetings, exchange of police and Coast Guard officers from both sides, and we are ready to announce a major initiative to facilitate the travel of Turkish tourists and their families to the islands of Eastern Aegean. Something that needs the clearance of the European Commission because of Schengen, but we are on the right path. I hope that we will be able at some point to reinvigorate the joint statement and its provision for returns when more trust and confidence is built. Now, the time is very pressing, and I can speak about migration forever, but I want to be very, very brief. Our main challenge is to deal with the crisis in a European way, to deal with illegal migration legally, not to abandon our European values, not to throw the baby out with the water. We don't have to resort to extra-legal and extra-European measures in order to fight irregular migration and illegal smuggling. And I think this is the main challenge for the political forces that we both represent, the two panelists here, I mean, of the center-right, of the sensible right, of the European right. Because there is a radical right to our right that is not right, and that is all too ready to exploit the migration to rise up and to advocate illiberal solutions, anti-European solutions that will do more harm than good. In order for us to succeed, we have to be bold, we have to be confident, we have to be frank, we have to defend the arguments, we have to be strict, we have to be much less naive than we have been, and in particular, I am addressing my remarks to my German colleagues, who I believe have been, especially when it comes to the current government in Berlin, quote-unquote naive. More recently, and I'm sure that my colleague will agree, he comes from the opposition after all, and it's something that I have said to Bild and to ZDF and to many German media. More recently, we have had the agreement of the German government for the pact, and that was a big step and a compromise between Meloni on the very right and the German Greens on the very left, and everybody in between, of course, the EPP, the Liberals, the Socialists, so that only the extremes are left out in their usual anti-European stand. The left, and whatever is left of the left, and the very right. Both the Conservatives to our right and the Greens to our left have been divided between Meloni, on the one hand, supporting Kaczynski, Orban not, the German Greens on the other, supporting Mélenchon and other Greens not. So we have a big majority in the European Parliament, which is positive, thanks to the realism that prevailed in Berlin as well as in Rome. From opposite sides of the political spectrum. We have to be frank and to say that for asylum, for example, to work, we need to have returns of those whose asylum applications are rejected. And we have to be very strict with returns, quick returns. Return those who abuse the system. Otherwise, the system will not hold, will not survive. We have to get the facts right, because often there is a lot of exaggeration with the numbers. In Greece, we have 40,000 irregular arrivals this year, a very big number that impresses many. It is a very big number, it is a big problem, but let me remind you that we had 33 million legal arrivals as well. So we had 99.9% of legal arrivals and 0.1% of irregular arrivals. 33 million compared to 40,000, okay? Now, most Greeks would think, if they rely solely on internet and certain media, that we have an explosion of migrants in Greece and that we are under invasion. The truth of the matter is that the migratory population of Greece is declining, is not increasing. The last 5 years, more than 200,000 legal migrants, especially of Albanian origin, have left the country for Italy, Germany, and elsewhere. And those who come irregularly, many of them wait to get their refugee status to depart, or they depart even before that for abroad. Needless to mention what country is their final destination. I'm sure you all understand. So as a result, we have very big shortages in our labor market. My office has been flooded with parliamentarians from all sides, especially from the countryside, demanding workers for farming, construction, tourism, and so on and so forth. And we really need to recalibrate our migration policy to make it work for our own benefit, against the disrespect of rules, against those who violate borders and are trying to, and especially the smugglers, but in favor of control, regular, legal, quality migration that our economy and our society so desperately needs. I think this is the main challenge ahead of us. Now that we live in the post-pandemic world. During the pandemic, things were much simpler. People wouldn't travel, and the economy needs were reduced because of the pandemic. But now we really need to perform this major reform. We are in the process of making some announcements soon on that regard. Now that we are we are getting the flows under control. We have established this cooperation with Turkey. We have a much better relationship with the European Commission. After the tragedy in Pylos, it was a bit disturbed, to put it mildly. And now we are moving towards this migration reform that is so much demanded by the times. I don't know if it was helpful or confusing, but this is what I wanted to share with you this morning, and I look forward to your questions. European solutions for a European problem is what we claim, and I'm happy to say that Greece, rather than being isolated, as some people might think, is very much at the center of the European debate these days. Our positions are becoming the mainstream positions around which most of our European partners coalesce, because we have this strict but fair border policy when it comes to irregular migration, and because we are putting renewed emphasis on legal migration, integration, and all the other things that go with it. We have a lot to benefit from our German partners, and they are long tradition, not always successful, but successful nevertheless, of migration policy, and all our other partners and friends in Europe's north. Thank you.
Dear Minister, dear Dimitris, thank you so much. And Stefan, please, the floor is yours for your perspective.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, dear Angelos, dear Mr. Kyriadis, dear ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I want to underline that I appreciate it very much to have the possibility to attend this high-ranking security forum. For me, to be honest, it's the first time to be here. But I'm really grateful, and it's a tremendous honor for me to take part at this panel. Firstly, I want to point out that I think there is no other country which I had the possibility to visit so often like Greece in the last 2 decades, especially with regard to this very important topic of migration and of illegal migration. And I want to take the chance to thank especially the Greek partners, the Greek minister, Mr. Kyriadis, and all your staff members for the outstanding job you do. And as I said, I had the chance to visit also the reception centers at Lesbos, at Chios, at Samos, and I think one very distinctive event was when the Neo-Democratia had the chance to take over the power in Greece again. And from then, I think the things improved tremendously with regard to this important topic of limiting illegal migration. And certainly Greece is one of the most important countries of first reception, and Germany is one of the most important countries of destination. And so I think it's very logical that the two countries, Greece and Germany, cooperate very intensively with regard to this topic of fighting and limiting illegal migration. And I totally agree with you, Mr. Kyriadis. In the end, this topic isn't a Greek topic and a Greek problem, and it's also not a German problem, it's a European problem. And we only will be able to solve this problem together. And 3 years ago, when we hold the presidency of the EU Council in the second half of 2020, the Commission published the new proposals for the EU Migration and Refugee Pact for the Common European Asylum System. and in September 2020, and in the beginning the negotiations, and I had the chance together with my minister Horst Seehofer to conduct the negotiations. In the beginning it was really a very difficult challenge, because the positions were very different from the eastern countries, especially from Hungary and Poland, and in the former times also Slovakia and the Czech Republic on the one hand, and on the other hand the Med5 countries, especially Italy and Spain. And I'm very glad that within the last 3 years now it was possible to come together and to find a solution. And in the end, certainly it's not the decisive solution and the one-fits-all solution, but I think it's a tremendous step ahead that now there is a consensus, at least between 25 of the 27 EU member states, that we should make this deal. We should now conclude the negotiations on this EU migration and refugee pact, and I'm very hopeful that in the end also Poland, the new Polish government, which is to be in power, I hope in a few weeks, with the Prime Minister Tusk, it will concede to this consensus as well. And certainly, as I said, that's not the overall solution, but as I said, in the end, national solutions will not be sufficient. And Mr. Keridis mentioned the actual federal government in Germany, and certainly when you are abroad, also as an opposition politician, you should not criticize your own government. But I think the definition you found, you said they act in a little bit way naive. I think that's not the wrong perception, to be honest. I think you could also put it in other words. And to be honest, this solution, which was now able to be found in the EU Council, was not found because of the pressure which was made by the German federal government, but I would say without the commitment of the federal government of Germany, and together with 3 other countries, they installed a new statement to this consensus. But I think that's a progress now, and I hope that, and we are in very decisive times now, because the trialogue is now conducted in Brussels between the EU Commission, the Council and the European Parliament. And Mr. Keridis, you're absolutely right. The Greens in Germany, they are opposing this consensus, but not only the Greens in Germany, also the Social Democrats in the European Parliament, they are opposing this consensus. So I hope that the next few weeks and months are used, that this consensus in the trialogue is concluded together with the European Parliament, because one decisive advantage of this consensus, I'm deeply convinced, will be that there is a screening at the Schengen border, that at least 20% of the asylum seekers are dealt at the Schengen border, and it is screened if there is a possibility for them to be accepted in the European Union as an asylum seeker or as a refugee, according to the Geneva Convention, or this possibility won't be there. And the accepted rate in Germany now is about 50%. So we have 50% are accepted as asylum seekers or refugees, and 50% are refused. And one decisive problem is to deport those who are refused and who don't have a chance to be accepted, and who don't have a chance to get a long-term permission in Germany to their home countries. So we have to do our homework, to be very honest. We have to accelerate the procedures in Germany. We have to lower the attractiveness of Germany, which means that we have to lower the social standards. We have to lower and decrease the social welfare which is conveyed to the asylum seekers. But that's not a task of Greece, that's not a task of the European Union, that's a national homework which must be done by the German lawmakers and by the German federal parliament. And certainly a few steps are now undertaken by the new government, or by the actual government, together with the CDU-CSU and opposition. But I'm deeply convinced in the end this won't be sufficient. So what is needed in the end? In the end, I think we need this coherent European approach. We need a European asylum system, which means that not the human smugglers and the human traffickers decide who is allowed to enter the European Union, but the Greek border authorities, the Italian, the Cyprus, the Spanish border authorities decide in the end who is allowed to enter the European Union. And in order to achieve this goal, this very decisive goal, I think this consensus which is now found is a certain step ahead, and it's a progress. But in the end, certainly we also need Turkey, and I think there is no country like Greece which knows very well that Turkey is not always an easy partner, to be very diplomatic. But on the other hand, I think we need Turkey. It was already mentioned today that Turkey is hosting about 3.5 million Syrian refugees. They don't call them refugees, but certainly they flew from Syria to Turkey, and on the other hand, they have in total about more than 4 million refugees in Turkey. So we need, and this is a very important aspect, we need a renewal of the EU-Turkey commitment, or the EU-Turkey statement, which was firstly signed in March 2016, and certainly it's not conducted in a fair and proper way by Turkey in the recent past. But I think both sides, the European Union on the one hand and Turkey, must have a common interest in order to renew this EU-Turkey statement, this EU-Turkey agreement. And this is another very important topic as well. As I mentioned, in the end, we need to find a coherent position. We need to find a coherent approach. And I'm also glad that the EU Commissioner Johansson is pushing forward this topic very intensively, as Mrs. von der Leyen does as well. And I think, and that's the last point, I think we also need more cooperation with the countries of origin, especially in the Sub-Sahara region in Africa on the one hand, in the Maghreb countries on the other hand. We need more bilateral treatments between, for instance, Tunisia, Libya on the one hand, and the European Commission on the other hand, and that's overall mostly the task of the EU Commission to negotiate these treatments and to conclude the negotiations on these treatments. Thank you very much.
Stefan, thank you so much. Well, a current minister on one side, a former minister of migration on the other side. It's nice working in the EPP, but it's better to wear the costume of a journalist again, so you can ask some questions now, because you raised some very interesting stuff here, and on some things you said more or less the same things. And the first question that comes to my mind is, and it's a question for both of you, you both mentioned that the EU-Turkey statement was helpful, but it's not working as we are expecting. The question is, do we need to make changes to the current statement, or we need a new statement? Mr. Kiridis, please.
We cannot have a new statement. We cannot find 27 countries agreeing on a statement. It was produced at a specific time under the pressure of leaders like Angela Merkel, we won't be able to find a consensus today for a similar statement. So this is what we have. This is the best we have, and we have to make sure that it comes back to life as much as possible. There are positive examples, like the cooperation that I spoke about with Turkey, but we have a long way to go further on that.
Stefan, any ideas?
Thank you very much, Angelos. As I said, I think we need a renewal of this EU-Turkey statement agreement. As you said, the actual one isn't working very well now. So in the end, I think we need a new approach, and certainly also Turkey should benefit from this agreement. To be honest, in the end, we, the European Union, will have to take the opportunity, or we will have to take the responsibility to pay money to Erdogan. So, but in the end, I think that's the better way to improve the living conditions of Syrian and other refugees in Turkey, to improve the way how they are treated in Turkey, in order to prevent them from crossing the Aegean to the Aegean Islands and to the European Union. So I think it must be in the interest of both sides, of Turkey and of the European Union, to find a proper new agreement. And my impression is that Erdogan now, after his re-election, he is much more open for these discussions, and as it was said today already, I think the high-ranking summit on the 7th of December here in Athens could also be a chance to not to conclude the negotiations on this agreement, but to address this issue to President Erdogan. And I'm deeply convinced in the end, and he has his problems in his own country, everyone knows it, especially with regard to the economy. So in the end, I think we will have to pay money in order to prevent illegal migration to the Aegean Islands and to improve the living conditions for the refugees in Turkey.
Allow me a comment here, because it's very interesting what we have heard, and I want to pick up on this. Showering Turkey with money is the easy answer, but it cannot be the whole answer. Turkey has received 9 billion so far and is expected to receive 3 more billion until 2027. And obviously money is important. And I understand why the Germans would like to resolve the Turkish problem through throwing money, if I may say so. Today, Turks constitute the #2 population of asylum seekers in Germany. And if Schengen access, visa facilitation, even more so visa liberalization for Turkish citizens was difficult in the past, it has become almost politically impossible these days in Berlin, given the numbers. But money, as important as it is, also can take you so far and not further, in the sense that there is the feeling in Turkey that they are being asked to be bribed with EU money to become the storage of refugees in Turkey. I think there is a lot of double talk, a lot of hypocrisy, if I may say so, in our relationship that makes our dealing with Turkey much more difficult. As I said, we are the only Schengen country in the area. Schengen has made traveling to Greece more difficult rather than easy, precisely because all our neighbors are outside Schengen. We have been traditionally in favor of facilitating Turkish citizens' access to Schengen, but we do understand the reservations of our northern partners. Furthermore, saying that we need a new agreement vis-à-vis Turkey might sound nice, but I don't think it's wholly realistic. Europe, you should remember, for all the nice talk, remains very divided when it comes to migration, and I will give you two examples. On the one hand, we have LIBE. LIBE is the Civil Liberties Commission of the European Parliament. LIBE has the position that, more or less, the majority of LIBE members, that any guarding of borders of Europe goes contrary to human rights. That European borders should be open, which is a contradiction in terms, because an open border is no more a border, it's something else. It might be a bridge, it's a door, but it's certainly not a border. I have followed LIBE's meetings, and there is one coming up once more against Greece, and I am constantly dumbfounded by, I will try to be polite, naivete of these people there, who are totally against the vast majority of European citizens. LIBE represents, in my opinion, in its present composition and politics, totally a radical minority view in Europe. On the other hand, we have Mr. Orbán, who follows a completely different track, and basically takes all incomers and pushes them to the Austrian border. Austria has a very peculiar problem. It is surrounded by Schengen countries, but it has received more than 100,000 unregistered asylum seekers this year, which makes it quite peculiar for the average Austrian. And a similar problem we have in Germany. How did these fellows appear in Austria, having traveled through other Schengen countries and not be registered? Now, for some strange reasons that is not for me to say, Austria refuses to condemn Hungary and takes its angry feelings towards Bulgaria.
And Romania.
Yes, Bulgaria and Romania, of course. They go hand in hand, especially Bulgaria, against their Schengen application. Which seems like, you know, sidetracking the usual culprit. Now, one big danger we have in Europe is that we have many governments that, under political pressure, talk tough, almost extra legal, or they try to, you know, come up with innovative solutions. We had the example of Suella Braverman, in the late Home Secretary of Britain. We had the plans of Meloni. Even Austria, the Austrian Chancellor, talks very tough. Now, the problem is that because these countries in the West are rule of law countries, usually those plans, this hot rhetoric, ends up in nothing. Because there are always these peculiar institutions called the courts and the judges, who have an ability and a proclivity to cancel out politicians' hot rhetoric and plans. So, rather than going between the two extremes, a hot rhetoric that doesn't work, and it's always to please the voters, and to show that something is happening, and that we will send those people in Rwanda, or in Albania, or in wherever, and the LIBE people, on the other hand, we have to come up with realistic solutions within the law that produce results and do the real homework, as my colleague just mentioned, which is not always attractive, it's not always glamorous, it doesn't catch the headlines, but it is the only real way forward for actual effective solutions. And let me conclude again with the German Greens. The German Greens put up a severe fight during the negotiations of the pact in order to do away with the concept of safe third country. doing away with the concept of safe third country means bye-bye to the joint declaration and any kind of war with Turkey. It will not allow, if Turkey is not a safe third country, there is no way to return people there, right? And it makes it impossible, and any kind of return is equated with refoulement, which is prohibited by the Geneva Convention. The fact that in this time of peril, in this time of crisis, a government coalition party in Germany puts up a fight for 2 years against such a fundamental concept shows our vast ability in Europe to shoot ourselves in the foot and to self-defeat our purposes. And again, I'm trying to be very polite and very reserved and not to say more. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I would like to ask time for maybe a couple of questions from the audience because we have surpassed the end of this session. So can somebody inform me if we can do it? Okay, so I will take the prerogative to take 2 questions and leave mine aside here because there are too many and probably very difficult. So can we have the microphone for the gentleman here, please? Please be kind enough to tell us who you are and try to be short.
Okay, my name is Matthias Steppan. I'm from the Bochum University, and I'm going to speak tomorrow. Today I have a question about the topic that you addressed here. So thank you very much for your kind words, for your frank words, how it's all going. So I see this is all basically treating the symptoms and the symptoms that arrive here at our doorstep. So I was wondering, is there any discussion what kind of other solutions than paying Turkey or other countries to take people back or keep them to basically go and look at the root cause why the people are coming? So we also had in an earlier session, for example, we should talk about climate changes. So we have many climate refugees and so on. So is there any talk on the European level who to really go more to the root cause why these people are coming to us and not staying in their home countries rather than trying to deal with the people arriving at our doorstep in ways that might basically conflict with our values and with our laws, as you just pointed out? Thank you.
Which of you would like to take this? All the questions. Okay, so I will ask one last question and then you can also answer this. So, Minister, from what you said, I gather that you are against ideas like the Italian-Albanian MOU on outsourcing asylum applications to a third country, even if it's an EU accession country. And I don't know also, as far as the EU-Turkey statement is wobbly, if you are also in favor, and this goes to both of you, of the MOU between the European Union and Tunisia, because this is also started with high hopes and it's laying low lately. So I will give the floor to Stefan, please, first, and then we'll conclude with you, Minister.
Thank you. Firstly, I just want to answer this question. It's absolutely right, but I think that's not a new innovation or a new approach. We have to reduce or to minimize the reasons for the migrants to leave their home countries, to leave their hometowns, and to migrate to the European Union. But to be honest, that's not sufficient now. I think we need absolutely to do more. And as I said, we need a coherent European approach. And I totally agree with you. Harsh talking of governments, regardless to who is in charge, isn't sufficient. It's not a secret. We have a real problem in Germany now with the rising AfD. And it's very interesting, more than 70% of the voters of this right-wing or in partly right extremist party vote for this party because of this topic of illegal migration. So it's not sufficient to do a harsh talking. We have to solve the problem. That's the most important thing, because only if we are able to solve this problem and to find solutions, effective solutions, we will be able to reduce this tendency to vote for right-wing and right extremist parties, not only in Germany, unfortunately, also in Germany, but also in other European countries. As we said it recently, have seen it in the Netherlands. So. Certainly, Austria is under pressure, Denmark is under pressure, Germany is under pressure as well. We will, I assume we will have in the end of this year more than 300,000 asylum applications. That's, we have an increase of 79% compared to the last year. So it's really a tremendous pressure, especially for the communalities, for the cities, and for the communal authorities. So it's not my task now to defend the federal government, but the Greens were mentioned a few times in this panel. But to be honest, we may not exaggerate the importance of the German Green Party in the whole European Union. Now there is a coherent position of the federal government of Germany consisting the ministers of the Green Party, and they are willing to accept this consensus, which was found in the Council. So certainly, as I said, there are Green MPs and Social Democratic MPs in the European Parliament who are opposing this consensus very intensively. I hope they fail in the end. And I think this window of opportunity now is very short. I'm deeply convinced if it's not possible to find a solution on this common European asylum system in this legislative term of the European Parliament and of this European Commission, this is over for a very long time of period, for years, I'm deeply convinced. So I think not only in practical terms, the pressure on certain countries is very tremendously and intensively. It's also a political pressure because, as I said, the window of opportunity only lasts for a few weeks or months. So, and I think in this aspect, we need also Turkey. Certainly, we know it. Not in the same way as you, but we know it as well that Mr. Erdogan is a very complicated partner. But on the other hand, I'm in favor of having Erdogan in the boat in order to solve this problem than to have him on the other side. And certainly we have to offer something to him. Money, I totally agree with you, is not the overall topic, but it's a topic, to be honest, as well. He needs money. He really, because of the suffering of the economy. On the other hand, certainly he should be open to accept that not accepted refugees are deported back to Turkey. On the other hand, we should be open, or we should be open to take accepted refugees from Turkey, for instance, Syrian refugees. So I think that's a matter of negotiations. I hope that I really hope that it's possible to find a solution together with Mr. Erdogan and not without Mr. Erdogan.
Thank you, Stefan. Minister.
Okay, we have to work with countries of origin and to provide targeted investment to do as much as possible away with underdevelopment, obviously. But we also have to do something about the pull factors and the magnetism of countries like Germany when it comes to treatment of asylum seekers. And CDU-CSU has a clear policy on that. And we are seeing this change. Obviously, you saw that in Denmark. We are now seeing it in Sweden, and Germany is following suit. Now, I do understand the need for an Albanian solution, an extraterritorial solution, because we are all frustrated. All European politicians are frustrated by the fact that the moment an asylum seeker touches on European soil, touches on Europe, all the legalities are on his side, and makes it very difficult for us to have, at the end of the day, an effective asylum policy with deportations when needed. We have failed miserably in that. And that's why governments resort to the second best of keeping asylum seekers and their asylum applications as far away as possible from European territory. And in this logic, the Turkey-EU statement is also part of having those asylum seekers processed in Turkey rather than in Europe is a variation of a similar model that we see now with Meloni's agreement with Rama in Albania, or a more extreme case, UK's agreement with Rwanda. Which has differences from the Italian case, because in the Italian case, we are talking about asylum seekers caught in high seas, in international waters, who have not yet reached. Now, the most important country these days, and we need to work with it very closely, is obviously Egypt, a country that has not been mentioned, a country of 110 million people with 9 million refugees. A country that has only got 150 million from EU, and not the 9 billion of Turkey, and a country from where not a single boat has left the Egyptian coast since 2016. For the last, how many, 7 years, not a single boat has left the Egyptian coast, unlike what is happening with Tunisia, obviously Libya, let alone Turkey, etc. A good model is also the Morocco deal with Spain that is working. We have to have more partnership agreements. We have to work more with countries of origin, countries of transit, and do our own homework in the countries of final destination. It is a very, very multifaceted problem with a lot of complications. But we are moving, and we are moving slowly, with some hesitations, with some back and forth, but we are moving because on the right direction, because the pressure is enormous, and because if we fail, it's not only migration that fails, the migration management, the whole European idea is in peril. An idea that was built by German Christian democracy, and is very close to my friend's heart and our own political ideology. So we need to do our best to defend it. It's marvelous to have all these young faces. Usually I speak to, especially when it comes to political meetings, to retired and pensioners and gray hair, but now I see a lot of black hair, and I'm encouraged that in these times in OMU you have done an amazing job, you and all my former colleagues. Thank you.